Welcome back to the Iconoclast Music Podcast. That's its former name. Now known as Greg and Bill's Guitar Uproar. I'm joined by my co-host, Bill Linero. Bill, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Yeah, another beautiful day.
It is another beautiful day, and we've had a week off. We released the last episode, but, you know, it's kind of bi-weekly, which, you know, eventually here, maybe in September, we'll get, like, every week we'll have an episode coming out, but it's just been so busy, and I've been traveling, and I know you had some stuff going on. I'd like to hear your news, Bill.
I got engaged.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. Got engaged on Sunday. 3 months of planning to make this go off without a hitch.
Talk about some of the finer details of this thing.
Man, basically, I had asked my fiance what is her ideal dinner, and she told me, dinner on the beach, with tiki torches and the sun setting. And so I called my friend Frank and his wife Debbie and asked them if, we can make the proposal at their beach house in Santa Cruz. And they said, absolutely no problem. So got that sorted out. And then I had the idea that I wanted to have 35 or 40 of our friends and family holding a big giant sign that said, "Will you marry me?" So I had a big 14.5-foot banner made, had them come down to the beach while she was in the house pouring glasses of wine. And then I had my friend Paul fly the ring down on a drone to me, after she saw all of her friends and family standing there. So it was quite the operation, And then her favorite song, "Voyage to Atlantis" by the Isley Brothers, started playing just as she walked out the threshold of the house. Under the assumption that there was going to be whales in the ocean. That's what I told her. I said, "Hey, there's whales out here." And she came running outside, and then the music started playing. She saw everybody, was shocked, and then the ring came floating down into my hand like a feather. So,
man, that's killer.
And she said yes.
Congratulations, dude. That could have gone so many ways of wrong.
Yeah, it could have.
Wind could have knocked that drone into the ocean. Whales could have been out there and, porpoise their way up into the sky to knock that thing out. I mean, just so many different things. She could have said no.
That's right. That was the biggest thing. But, we flew the drone from the courtyard at the front of the house just over the roof of the house onto the back deck. It never made it towards the ocean, That's
so cool, man.
Yeah. So it was good. And then this weekend, Sunday, we leave for Isla Mujeres, Mexico for a week.
Nice, man. That's the eastern coast of Mexico, correct? Like Cancun side?
Yeah, it's just exactly. So we're not going to Cancun. We're flying into Cancun, but we're going to the island right off of about 20 minutes off the coast of Cancun.
That's where we had our honeymoon. 2000
Really?
Oh, I should have. 2003. Yeah, we had, it was called the Beach Resorts, and there's like 6 or 7 different resorts you can go to up and down that coast. And so we stayed further south that actually had been destroyed by a hurricane, not like maybe 5-10 years ago, whatever it was, and it's no longer even there. And so but dude, it was amazing because it was all inclusive, all food, all drinks, all everything. Travel up and down the coast. There were some tours that were booked that were included too, and we ate sushi like nearly every second meal. It was a really fun time. Yeah, it was cool.
Great. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward. Last time I was in that area was we were on the Tony McAlpine cruise tour, and me and Tony went on this cruise, and so we went to the Cozumel. That was the first time.
Nice.
So that that's just east, I guess. Is it east of Isla Mujeres? So I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Oh man. So when are you leaving?
I'll leave Sunday.
Nice.
Sunday.
And then you'll be back. You'll be back this Saturday.
I'll be back Saturday, and then I see you Sunday after that.
So that'll be the day that I'm at Ashley. So I'm doing this documentary. I've talked about it a million times, posted on social media. I'm doing a documentary on Prairie Sun Recording Studio. So on Saturday, when you're flying in, that'll be the day I'm shooting the interviews for Prairie Sun Studio up in Northern California, Napa. So it's gonna be so cool. I talked to Muka, who's the owner. I just talked to him yesterday, and he said we have full run of the studio all weekend. So we'll have Saturday and Sunday. Sunday we'll be doing drone footage of the property. And this past week, I was in Las Vegas and I got to interview legendary CEO of Shrapnel Records, Mike Varney. That was incredible. And also Stoney Curtis, who runs Counts Customs recording studio. I think they call it Counts Desert Moon Recording. what a fantastic experience. Do you mind if I just talk about that real quick?
Go for it, dude. Of course.
So they gave me this address, and we stayed at the Mirage this time, and what a fantastic hotel to stay in. The pool is amazing. The food at the Mirage, all the restaurants was incredible. They've got a Starbucks there. I mean, I can't say enough. We stayed in the Stay Well suites. So it was like, extra purified or whatever they say. Super quiet, super comfortable. Everything was clean. So the second to last day, I get this address to go to a studio to, interview Mike Varney and Stoney Curtis. And as I'm pulling in, I'm going, this looks like Count's Customs. And I know that Stoney's in, Count's 77, Count's, Danny Coker's band, who I've had on the show. So look back at the Iconoclast Music Podcast, look back in the back catalog, and you'll find that, my interview with those guys. So anyway, I know these in the band, but I'm not thinking I'm going to the A&E or the History Channel set. As I'm pulling up in my Honda CRV, I got a little video. I don't know if I sent it to you.
No, I haven't seen it.
I'll send it to you.
All
So
right.
I'm pulling in, and it's the gate that they pull all these beautiful hot rods that they customize. And I'm driving up to it in my Honda CRV. I mean, it's an empty lot. I mean, it's empty because everybody's gone home for the day. I think I got there maybe 8 o'clock, something like that. So as I'm pulling up, it's this gate where they say, I think it's, they'll say the one guy's name is Rolly. Rolly, bring that beautiful car out, or whatever Danny Coker says. Something like that. And I've got my little Honda CRV. I'm parked right in front. I'm like, this is rad as hell. So as I'm messaging Stoney to let him know I'm there, he lets me in the studio. I got pictures of the studio, gives me the tour. That's where those guys rehearse, and a lot of other huge Vegas bands rehearse there too. It's just a really cool facility. Really, it's decked out in what you would expect like a studio set to be. It's just beautiful, man. So I did the interview with Mike Varney, hung out with him the whole night. I think he got there around 8, and maybe he left at 11 or midnight, something like that. It was a long time. And just a million stories, a million great stories about shrapnel. I got to ask him about, what the process was like for like the Jason Beckers and the Richie Kotzen and Marty Friedman, all those guys that you're listening to those records going, I could sit here a month and work out these parts, and I probably wouldn't play them as technically proficient as these guys are pulling them off. So I asked him, I'm like, dude, I started by saying, when I record my records, I give myself unlimited passes. I want to get the part right. I'm writing the part. I want to, the conviction's got to be there. The style's got to be there. And I can't bum any notes. It's got to be, I get it when I get it. It's like, I'm not trying to put pressure on myself. I said, those guys had like a week in the studio. How did that go for them? He's like, well, a lot of pre-production, a lot of practice, and raw natural talent. Mm-hmm. Those guys had that raw natural talent where they were just able to sit there and just blow licks all day long. And man, that it really goes to show you that if you go listen to a lot of those players, a lot of jazz players, but a lot of guys that are on the Shrapnel record label, Mike did really mine and really did, put together the soundtrack for those great players. And I wonder if those players are still out there. I mean, I know there are great players and there are kids, but the difference is can you write the part, record it, and bang it out in like a week's time?
That's right.
I mean, we're talking, they didn't even have scratch tracks going in. They had demos and stuff, but they basically had to have their shit together in order to pull that stuff off. And it's really incredible. If you listen back, I got some Tony McAlpine stories that just, there was one, I'll tell you one story. And maybe what I'll do is at some point, I'm going to, obviously all this footage is going into the movie, but I'm going to edit it down for Mike, and hopefully I'll be able to do a Shrapnel Records documentary. That's really what I'd love to do. I mean, obviously I'm very honored to do the Prairie Sun documentary, but that's just kind of like, there are so many documentaries I'd love to do, and Shrapnel Records is very much top of that list, right under Prairie Sun, if not, equal. But anyway, the Tony McAlpine story was someone came in to jam, and I don't recall until I go back and look at the footage, and there were so many stories, so if I'm getting this wrong, the footage will tell the tale. And as Tony's playing, I think he was playing piano, Mike Varney said. And as he's playing, the guy who's jamming with is just going through crazy key changes. And Tony's hanging the entire time, like not missing any of the key changes, and can hear within, a chord or two where the guy's going. And Mike asked Tony, how are you doing that? He's like, I just can hear where the chord progressions are going. I just hear it. And that goes to show you that the skill and the practice and Tony was a little kid when he learned piano.
Yeah.
And so it's just really amazing to hear those stories. And I'm really excited for everybody to see this documentary. And like I'm saying, you and I will be there this upcoming weekend. I'm going to have all of the interviews with Muka the day before you get there. And then the next day we'll do all the B-roll, any extra stuff. And I'm just going to hang out and we'll get like driving over the Golden Gate Bridge and, some San Francisco Bay Area. Like we'll try to go to different spots where we can capture some footage of maybe some clubs and stuff or I don't know what. I don't know until I interview Muka. And you're really great with the history too. In that things that I couldn't know because you grew up in the Bay Area.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, all the the history of freaking Metallica's here and all that stuff. The Bay Area thrash scene and just the Stone bimbos. I mean, there's so many venues here. It all started here. And Shrapnel was born here in Novato. And speaking of Tony, by the way, Tony has perfect pitch. He absolutely has perfect pitch. There's recently, probably within the last 2 months, maybe 2.5 months ago, I was on the phone with him here, and I just wanted to test his perfect pitch, right? Just because just to mess with him a little bit. So I have a piano here, and I started hitting random notes on it. I said, all right, what note is this? Gave me right off the bat, boom. Okay, what note is this? Boom. What chord is this? Boom. Just didn't even hesitate. It was instantaneous. He knew note chord recognition instantly. There'd be times when we'd be on tour and he told me, he said, if he's backstage practicing and there's a refrigerator, humming in the background, he has to practice along in the key that refrigerator is humming, to. Otherwise, it's going to really mess with him. It'll be totally dissonant. So
I'm not that bad. I obviously, if you don't have perfect pitch, you have relative pitch.
Yeah.
It was funny. I had a person, this is just a funny aside. I'm not going to mention the name, but a guy who was in my band that is famous, has been famous in his life, said to me these exact words.
I think I know who you're talking about.
He goes, they always told me I had perfect pitch. And I'm like, so that means that someone can play a note and you can tell me what that note is. Or you can tell the person what that note is. And he goes, no, if you play that note and then I could tell you an adjacent note or I could get close. I'm like, so you have relative pitch? No, I have perfect pitch. I just thought to myself, this dude does not know what perfect pitch even means. He doesn't know the definition of the word. But it's a pretty rare thing to have that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I can get pretty close. I mean, I can. And for me, it's definitely like I've always had a great ear, which a lot of musicians, hopefully have that. But it's always a practice thing. And I can hear when guitars are, a few cents flat or whatever, when it comes to that. That's about as near perfect as I get. I can hear when my guitar is, like for instance, I have a bunch of them, and when they're sitting on the wall, they either go a little sharp or go a little flat, depending on the humidity and things like that. So I can always tell when I'm playing something, I'm going, well, this is maybe like 5 cents sharp or flat. That's as far as I go with that. But I would love to have, that would be amazing to have that.
Well, I mean, you think it would, but, people that I know that have it say it's a curse. It's a curse. Yeah, especially when they're hearing other players play or other players sing, it drives them crazy when they're out of key or out of pitch, and they can't do anything about it because it's on the radio or it's on CD. If it's not perfect, it really drives them crazy.
You know what I hear is, obviously before auto-tune, you listen to guys like Ray Gillen from Badlands. Mm-hmm. And I listen to Ray sing, and I honestly don't hear any sharp, like sometimes you hear the slur from flat into the pitch, but there are some singers that, I mean, you got to remember all that Motown shit was they just were singing. They
Michael
didn't have the
Jackson.
luxury of going over and over and over.
I mean, look
so
at
they were,
yeah.
you know, and they always say that you can recognize, most everybody can recognize when someone's sharp, but when you're a little flat, that's harder to, you know, hear that. And so, you know, there's a quality to it. Like the guy from Kansas, fantastic singer. Gosh, what's his name? Why am I forgetting that?
Is it Kenny or no Scott? Scott.
Well, Steve's. I think it's Steve something. Ashley.
Maybe it is. Yeah, Steve.
We're gonna have to look that up.
Yeah,
the singer from Kansas, amazing. You know, I mean, Steve Perry.
Oh,
Steve Perry did not have pitch correction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look further back. Look at the Frank Sinatras and the Elvis Presleys. Voices were perfect. You know,
they sure were, man.
And they never. And you know, Sinatra would do one take. That was his thing. 2 takes max, and he was pissed if he had to do 2 takes.
I remember hearing that story.
Yeah, and if he did 2 takes, it usually was one of the band members' fault, not his fault.
Right.
You know? So, I mean, it's just guys like that, they have that natural voice. I mean, Elvis sounded like he was singing when he was talking. You know, the voice, it was just such a resonant baritone voice.
Well, let's take a little pause for the cause. We're going to get a sponsor ad in here real quick, and then we'll be right back.
This podcast sponsored by Strap Tight Strap Locks, the most secure, affordable guitar strap locks on the market. Install and remove in under 2 seconds. No need for any tools. Endorsed by legends such as Joe Satriani, Glenn Hughes, Carl Verheyen, and more. Get yours at straptight.com.
Okay, thanks so much to Strap Tight Strap Locks for that little pause for the cause. Bill, what do you know about Strap Tight Strap Locks?
I know a little bit, actually. Yeah,
you're actually one of the partners in that company.
Yeah,
so it's nice to have you guys sponsor the show.
Yeah,
thanks so much for that.
You got it, man. You know, they've been on all my guitars, you know, for since 2014.
That's cool, man.
You know, they've never failed me. So if they do, then I'm done. You know,
that guitar's done.
Yeah, or that guitar's done. Yeah, well, that's how it all started.
Bro, I got to be honest. I mean, this has nothing to do with the sponsorship, but I hate like the Schaller type or like there's the Dunlop type. Why do I have to take the button out and you're going to give me this tiny little button that only your proprietary, and like a guitar strap is universal.
That's right.
I actually love big pegs, what are they called? The strap buttons.
Yeah.
I love a big one. And so you imagine that. I love a big one. I love the big strap buttons. And you know, then you have to kind of work the leather around the strap button. Right. And then you have that nice little, strap tight strap lock on there, just holding everything in. And it's almost like you don't necessarily always think you need that, but you know, you're putting straps on and off your guitars. To have that is just like that extra nice security to it.
Well, yeah. I mean, Joe Satriani did a great video. It's like a 3-minute interview with this French called Satirax. And, Joe said in the interview thing, he said, you spend, hundreds of dollars on pedals. You spend hundreds of dollars on pickups and all this stuff. He goes, but none of them actually protect your instrument. He says, strap tight, $8.99. You get 4 of them. You protect your instrument. Right. And that's the biggest thing. You should be protecting your instrument first. And a lot of people think of strap locks as, it's an afterthought. But it really shouldn't be. It should be the first thing you think of when you buy a guitar. Oh, I need strap locks on my guitar.
Since we're talking about sponsors, I'm playing through my Victory Kraken today. I brought my guitar. I have to tell you, for years, people have been telling me, when I say years, I'm talking when I go back to my age 16, when I got my first real guitar amp, you crank it up and you hear all this hiss and crap. And I'm so stupid sometimes, man, because I don't listen when people tell me stuff. They say you should get a noise suppressor. You should get a noise gate. And so I'm doing this recording, and it has a lot of stopping and starting. And since I'm editing the audio myself, I'm mixing this record myself, and I'm just going to send it out for mastering. So I'm doing everything. The biggest pain in the ass is when you're going and you have to go and do maintenance, but cleanup in between the chords. You know, any amp is going to have especially if it's high gain, is going to have a little hum in between the notes. So I like to have the noise floor pretty low, you know, the noise to signal ratio. I try to get it so my amp is not screaming for vengeance, you know, and, in between when I don't want it to. And so it's funny, I got the dang noise suppressor, and obviously it's not going to catch any signal at all. Now, there's another way to do it where I should put the noise suppressor in the loop, and I can, choke it off at the power amp, but I'm not doing it that way, and it's like next to no sound. I mean, it's just so nice having that. And so what I'm using today is my Mighty Mite guitar. It's the USA, so it's a mahogany body, and then I had them put the Sully bridge pickup in. It doesn't have a neck pickup at all. I'm running through a Strobo Stomp. Man, I can't speak today. Strobo Stomp tuner, the Wampler Tumnus with just a little bit of gain, my Boss NS2 noise suppressor, the Whammy Ricochet. Now, dude, this is my new favorite pedal. It's like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's not maybe for everybody, but I love that sound.
Yeah.
So I've got an octave below, and it does different, it's called a Whammy Ricochet. So it does these weird, it'll do like a pitch up, pitch down. I don't want to demonstrate that right now, but that's what I'm using, and through the Victory Kraken amp. And this new record I'm doing called Reflexive, I don't know about you, but for me, I've always kind of, growing up a kid, I was 10 or 11 in the early 80s. And when MTV first started, it was like all the British pop electronic bands, and it was also metal. So it was like Def Leppard and like Gary Newman.
Yeah.
Like, and I love them both equally. Let's see if I can pull.
Oh yeah. There you go.
So I love Gary Newman, and I love that song Cars. So this Whammy Ricochet gives me that octave below, and I can get that kind of keyboard synthesizer sound on that song. Even recently, there's a band called Orgy that the guy Amir Dirac, who was in Rough Cut.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just done so many great things, but it's mostly like electronic, music. And I just kind of always thought, I have my punk record. I have my instrumental shred record. I have my straight ahead hard rock with, metal singer vocals record. This one, I want to go out and have some fucked up guitar sounds. Yeah. And I want to use my octave pedals. I want to use my whammy pedals and just fuck with it. So it's interesting. And a lot of the grooves are like definitely like could be electronic dance grooves too. So it's just something fun to do, and it kind of changes it up a little bit, and to play with these pedals, just, to have that extra voice in there is just so much more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm using these pedals to kind of thicken things up for one, and two, change the voicing of just, otherwise you just have straight
Root 5
chords like anyone has a million times over on their records. And I'll have some of that too, but I'm going to have some fucked up sounds too.
Well, I mean, that's the joy and the cool part of recording and being able to create, at your own leisure.
Well, we should talk about some folks that are no longer with us. Within the last couple of weeks, we lost some legendary musicians. I mean, they all hit me pretty hard. I'll be honest with you. This round of, I mean, we had Jeff LaBar passed away, and we talked about that in our, I believe it was a previous, might have been 2 episodes ago. And you know, I would love to have said a million things about that. And for me, it's I'll just leave it up to the fans to, you know, have their memories of Jeff LaBar and Cinderella, and I think that's important for people to celebrate the lives of the people that they loved as, you know, artists and musicians. You know, personally, that's a personal thing. For me, I got to tell you, Dusty Hell. Oh man, I've been a ZZ Top fan since I could even remember listening to music. I mean, it just seemed like beer drinkers and Hellraisers, and waiting for the bus, and you know, it's just those songs they're in your DNA. I mean, you in the town I grew up in Pennsylvania, a little town, you know, north of Pittsburgh. I don't think they let you graduate high school until you knew those songs and you could recite the lyrics, because it just seemed like it was on the radio every single day. And of course, you know, Legs and Sharp Dressed Man, you know, and we were like 10 and 11, you know, this is early 80s. That was a staple. That's pop culture. ZZ Top with the beards. But the thing is, it goes a lot deeper than that. If you study the back catalog of ZZ Top, those guys were tremendous players, and go watch some of the stuff from the 70s and even before Eliminator, before they were a pop band, you know, like they had pop tunes. Those guys could fucking hang on stage, 3-piece.
Oh, with anybody.
Cowboys.
With anybody.
They're cowboys, man. You know, they look like cowboys, but it was like hard rock, not even country. It's hard rock blues. Blues. It was just, and it was always the coolest band. They were just the kings of cool. There's a good documentary that just came out. I believe it's on Amazon.
I thought it was on Netflix, but it might be Amazon.
Okay, sorry, you're right, Netflix. And it's definitely on iTunes Music. I think it's called the biggest
little old band from Texas, I think.
So it's ZZ Top. Look it up. It's a year or two old. It might even just be a year old, but it's great, and it's just beautifully edited. And there's a ton of there's a ton of content in there about the story of ZZ Top. And I have to say that the thing, I mean, God, there's a million things that make that sad, but the dude was on stage pretty much up until the time where he died. And I don't know the details of how he passed, but there was something that, you know, he had something with his hip, and you're going, wait, that was just something for his hip, and then that turned into something. Like, do you know the details of that? Because that seems bizarre to me.
Yeah, I don't know the details, but I mean, it's so he has problems with his hip. He's on medication, and then he dies. You know,
and then he dies.
And it's like Tom Petty. His problems with his hip. He gets medication, and he dies. You know, I honestly think both of those were bad reactions to the medication.
And you don't know what underlying. You don't when you're on your. I have to say, you know. You just don't know what other underlying things, you know, and it's always like they say, oh, you know, he died from a heart attack or whatever. Well, it's always that. It's always, I mean, you could be hit by a car or you could die from a heart attack because your heart's always going to go. So it could be, you're right. It could be a reaction. It could be anything. And I haven't dug deeper than just the fact that he passed away is super sad.
So I have a friend of mine whose stepson, he was having some back pains and he went to the doctor because they were really bad back pains. I think it was for back pains. Anyways, he went to the doctor. The doctor gave him some medication. He was 21 years old, and he was home that night, and he was laying on the couch with his girlfriend. He said, oh, you know, I'm really feeling a little weird right now. Within minutes of that, he died. He had some bad reaction to the medication.
Also, we lost Joey Jordison. Drummer, former drummer Slipknot, and he had a ton of things.
Yeah, Murder Dolls, Scar the Martyr. Yeah.
Right. And the thing about it is, I was talking to a drummer friend, my friend Chris Compton, who's done some songs with me. We've put out together, and you know, he's always been my drummer when I go play the East Coast. He's always the first call guy. If he's available, I'll get him. He's a tremendous drummer himself. And we were talking last night, and the thing that's, you know, the thing that dawns on you is, you know, I don't want to make this a negative thing, but I will say that, you know, there are haters. There are people that are not fans of a particular style of music. So if they don't like your band, they don't like you. Well, listen, I don't know how many guys were in Slipknot. I know it's 10, 11, 12, 13. There was a shit ton of guys on stage. And the main driver for that band was Joey Jordison.
Yeah.
And the level for which he had to play was otherworldly. I mean, this guy had to power a 2-hour set by himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the engine in that band. And try to play some of that stuff. You know, try as a great drummer to play some of that stuff. It's really technically at the limits of, I think, what anyone should physically be able to play, because it sounds like a drum machine. It's so great. But just go online and follow and look at some of the videos he's done. He pulled that stuff off and he just was a colossal badass drummer. I mean, I love Slipknot. Yeah. I have to say, I do love Slipknot. And when you hear some of those grooves and some of those just blast beats, just the way that guy plays, like, dang, dude. Yeah. I mean, me as a drummer, I'm more Tommy Lee. I would love to be able to play like Joey Jordison, but where the fuck do you begin?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's certain people that come along, but you know what? As a drummer, I mean, the average music listener doesn't appreciate what he did, or what a lot of drummers do, right? Because the average music listener isn't looking for the details. They're just hearing the beat. That's it.
Yeah.
But they're not listening to what he truly was able to accomplish.
And then we also lost
Mike Howe.
The singer, Mike Howe from Metal Church.
Yeah.
And I saw Metal Church back in 1991, I want to say, on the Operation Rock and Roll tour. This tour was tremendous, by the way. It was Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Dangerous Toys, but it was, and who else played? Metal Church, obviously Metal Church. I mean, they were there too. And there was another band. God, why am I forgetting? Oh man, I'm so stupid. I should have looked this shit up. But my friend Scott Dalhover from Dangerous Toys was also on my former version of the show, Iconoclast. Look that up too. But we talked about Operation Rock and Roll. Oh, did I say Judas Priest? So Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Metal Church, Dangerous Toys, and there's a fifth band I'm forgetting. I don't know who, but Vinnie Moore was in Alice Cooper when they played. So the fucking band, dude, that night was like, we were front row, and it was an outside shed near Pittsburgh, and it was like, I'll never forget it. I can't forget anything about that, because it was a stellar 4 or 5 hour set, and I know that they had a hard time. Like, could you imagine? This is Painkillers, Judas Priest. This is when Scott Travis is on drums. This is Vinnie Moore and the Alice Cooper band. This is like, the bands were incredible. Yeah. Scott Dalhoover and Dangerous Toys. Just everybody was so good, and they had a hard time selling tickets. I think it had to do with promotions and marketing, but these days, dude, Judas Priest is going to sell out anywhere he goes. Yeah. I mean, same thing with Alice Cooper. Those are legacy bands now. But I remember Metal Church. I always love, like, oh man, let me see if I can remember this tune. That was kind of like their popular MTV hit. And then it turned heavy from that point. Yep. And again, I should have learned this, man. I should have prepared a lot more for this episode. I've had a million things going on, so guys, just be nice. But anyway, I love Metal Church, and I mean that was the music we'd all listened to back in the day. I mean, that was it.
Yep. I mean, and it's unfortunate. I mean, Hal passed away from suicide, and he was working on an album when it happened. So, kind of, it makes you wonder, like, what's going on behind the scenes, and and.
It was like similar with Cornell, Chris Cornell, when he passed away. It was like, who knows? I mean, I don't know if it's prescription drugs, but I can say that I know, if I'm recalling this correctly, Metal Church put out a statement, and they talked about how Big Pharma had something to do with the death of Mike Howe. Again, don't quote me on any of this. Look it up yourselves. Figure it out for yourselves. I'm just saying how damn sad it is.
And Metal Church, the San Francisco band, it's where they formed, And, if you go back and look at the history, it was Lars and Hetfield that urged, the label to sign them,
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So they're credited with getting Metal Church signed.
I want to circle back to something that Scott Earl from Culprit said. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, because you just talked about Metallica in the early days, and I'm tying it in because I just interviewed Mike Varney from Shrapnel Records, and the very first band they signed was Culprit. And Scott Earl said to me, there was a story that Mike Varney could have signed Culprit or Metallica.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus
And he signed
Christ.
Culprit instead. Can you imagine that? Is that crazy?
Well, that right there is as bad as the guy who was given the option of, I think it was $1,300 or Apple stock. And he chose, $1,300. Had he kept that Apple stock, I think they said the value would have been about $30 billion, somewhere around there.
Dude, what do you do, man? You're the Pete Best of freaking Apple stocks.
Well, here's the thing. And the guy now lives in subsidized housing, I believe in Las Vegas, living on Social Security. And he said he has no regrets. I don't buy that at all. I'm sorry. I don't buy that at all. You can't look back on that and say, yeah, I don't regret taking $1,300 over $30 billion in stock of Apple. I don't buy that.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
No.
I mean, maybe this guy doesn't have any regrets because he's charmed in some other way.
Maybe, but I wouldn't,
Whatever. I don't know.
Think of the good you could do with $30 billion,
You could do a lot of good. Absolutely. You could buy a lot of guitars.
You buy a lot of guitars. You buy a lot of guitars for kids who can't own guitars, who can't afford them. Right?
Absolutely.
Which is something I would love to be a part of. Hetfield and Hagar and Satriani, they're all part of this. I think it's music for kids or something like that. I forget what it's called. And they donate money and musical instruments and time to, help school programs and things like that. And I love that.
I agree, man. We've got to get Satriani on the show, dude.
I know. We got to make that
Pull
happen.
those strings, Bill. Work your magic.
I will work the magic.
I got to say, I've had some really cool things in the last week. We're going to have Mark Slaughter on the show. Mark, I texted him while I was in Vegas and mentioned, check this out. Here's a little tidbit. I don't mind revealing this. This is fucking cool as hell. All right, Racer X fans. So, this is crazy. Mark Slaughter was on the original demos of Racer X's first record.
What?
He was going to be the singer of Racer X.
Whoa.
And they chose Jeff Martin.
Wow.
Now, I said to Mike Varney, does that exist somewhere? I would love to hear that. I don't need to have it, but I'd love to hear it. And he said it exists.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't even pause. So when we have Mark Slaughter on the show, we're going to ask him.
Right. We're going to ask him.
You got it, man? Because I want to hear this, dude. You can play it over the phone. I'll sit here and listen to it.
That's great. Wow.
But that's incredible.
That is really cool.
So anyway, everybody had really great things to say about each other. I worked with Rudy Sarzo last year at a company I was working with, and we did a video series. Was called Ask Rudy, and so I was the person that asked the fans sent in questions, and I asked, and I even said to Rudy, I'm like, I don't need to be on camera for this. He's like, oh no, you need to be on camera for this. So I had interviewed Rudy for the same company I was working for, so we had an exchange of, we were both on video, so it was a back and forth interview, and then for his show Ask Rudy, I was on asking the questions, and so that was pretty cool. But I texted Rudy and asked him if he would, since he did Project Driver with Tony McAlpine at Prairie Sun, if he'd like to be in this movie. And he said, absolutely. So I'll be interviewing him in the upcoming weeks. And man, this thing is just shaping up.
That's great. I mean, you'll see Rudy's back in Quiet Riot now, which is pretty amazing.
I saw that too.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
And they need to bring Carlos Cavazo back in the mix.
I agree.
I love those guys in the band, but if you're going to have one original member in there, well, it's like, get Carlos back in too.
Exactly. Absolutely. You got it. I mean, Carlos obviously, took over for Randy Rhoads, which was huge shoes to fill,
Absolutely.
I mean, when the Quiet Riot Years album came out, do you remember that?
Yeah.
I was a little, I liked it. There's the Laughing Gas, Randy's unaccompanied solo. I was a little disappointed though, when I found out that Kevin Dubrow basically took Randy's solos and ran them through wah pedals after the fact. Yeah, when they went back in the studio to put that album together, Kevin said, I ran some of the solos through wah pedals because that's what Randy would have wanted. And I was like, man, that's not what Randy did. You know, I don't care what Randy would have wanted. I want to know what Randy did at that moment, because you're capturing that moment. So going back in and doing what you think somebody wanted to do is not authentic to what happened in that moment when that album was recorded.
I agree, man. Hey, speaking of early 80s music, this was one that changed. I mean, I believe this was the first #1 metal record. I remember when I would listen to, I remember when I would listen to the radio, I would have a little cassette player there, and I didn't have a way to record from the cassette. I had to put a cassette player near the radio. That's how I would, listen to songs back again. Because I didn't want to wait for 8 o'clock on a Friday night for them to play the top 10 songs. And I remember... So that was Come On Feel the Noise, which was a Slade cover.
Yeah,
and then I remember
Mental Health.
I used to love, I tell you,
a great band.
I wasn't a big fan of, I love that record. I mean, when you're 11, it's pretty badass, man. It's like when you're a little kid, it's like, this is great.
Yeah.
We listened to that record over and over and over and over. And I'm sure a lot of those tunes were, originally Randy Rhoads had something to do with a lot of that stuff.
He did.
But Carlos Cavazo was great, and I loved him in Rat too. I mean, I would love to hear more from Carlos.
Yeah, and you think about the 80s metal scene, right? It's the guitar players in that time. And you had the Eddie Van Halen, obviously he was the king. There was nobody bigger. But you had the Carlos Cavazo and the Warren DeMartini and the George Lynch and those three guys and Jakey Lee, right? Really, those four guys. That was it.
Remember this one, Bill?
Of course.
I used to put in that little bass line because I felt like I couldn't hear the song right unless I heard the bass line. It was like that. I just loved that, man. It was like really nice harmony.
That was huge for them.
It's funny. I think of like a lot of those riffs, and it's like, that Under Lock and Key record, Dokken, just a tremendous, a lot of really cool songs on there. And, it's definitely 80s guitar tone, but Lynch was killing it back then.
That was
man.
the ADA.
He
Mike
just was
Pre.
everything he played just sounded tremendous, man.
Well, if you look at the vibrato of him and the vibrato of Warren DeMartini, they're the exact same vibrato because they were roommates.
Yeah.
So they shared that same wild, wide vibrato.
Yeah, man. DeMartini's my dude.
Yeah.
That's like I got to we did the G4 event we mentioned in another episode, and I tell you what, the whole event, I got a ton of like his he did a lot of songs that in the rehearsal that he didn't play live. Walking the Dog, I got all that video and
wait a minute, Warren was at that G4?
Get the fuck out. Yeah, DeMartini was one of the guitar players at G4, homie.
I don't think I have any footage of him with all the footage I shot.
I'll send it. I'll send what I have to you. Yeah.
I didn't meet him. I didn't meet him that weekend.
Well, I got to meet him.
Yeah.
And I got the Bananas Large gaming guitar. It was funny. I'll tell the story real quick. I've told this a million times, but Bananas at Large was the store I worked for, and Alan Rosen invited me to be there as like the guitar player for the store, and if anybody needs anything, we did backline for those guys too. So we had Black Star amps for Phil Collin, and we were right there near the stage, and whatever they would need, we would have it. And And so we were there to help and, sell guitars obviously too. But so this guitar I was eyeing up, this Charvel Warren DeMartini signature snakeskin guitar. It was funny because Alan said to me, hey man, I'm going to get these guys to sign this thing. Come with me. And at the very end, it was like one of the last days of the show. At the very end, he hands the guitar to me and said, this is for you. And at the same time, he's taking a picture right behind me. He gets Phil Collin and Warren DeMartini to stand up behind me. They look like cardboard cutouts. It's crazy. I still have the picture. I'll send it to you. I've posted 1 million times on social media. It's like one of the coolest moments of my life, really, because those were my dudes. I mean, DeMartini and Phil Collin, that's what I listened to when I was figuring out guitars. So what a thrill that was. And but the very last night, the last night jam when they had
Tommy Emmanuel.
Tommy Emmanuel
Collin,
playing Telecaster with Satch, and that was incredible.
Yeah.
So I've got all that footage.
Yeah, they've got all that.
So DeMartini is kind of like mixing in with the crowd, and he's notably a shy guy and doesn't really do that. And so he was talking to someone else, and I said, "Hey man, I just want to say, if it wasn't for your playing, I wouldn't be playing the way I am. And thanks so much. I don't want to stand here and ogle over you and ask you 1 million questions, but I just got to say, dude, you're like the reason why I play the way I do." And I'll never forget. He was just like, "Hey man, thanks so much. Hey, what's your name?" That kind of thing, like the normal interaction back and forth. And just the coolest guy. I mean, he just could not have been a nicer guy. And, sometimes when you meet your heroes, they are cool.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I just drove by Bananas at Large yesterday. The new
location they've got in San Rafael, right?
I didn't go inside, though.
We'll go up next weekend.
Yeah.
I'm going to message Alan and see if I can have Alan's the owner there. And every time I'm up in the area, I'll tell you, Alan's been so cool. Billy Sheehan had a clinic one time, and he said, "Hey, man, do you want to play?" I'm like, "What do you mean, do I want to play with Billy Sheehan?" Hell yeah, I want to play. So they were trying to get Neil Sean's son, and they were trying to get Neil Sean, but Eric Martin, check this out. This story is incredible. Eric Martin had not yet reunited with Mr. Big. Okay. So Billy Sheehan sent a bass to Eric Martin's house for his kids, a Billy Sheehan bass. And so then Billy plays this, and Eric Martin lives right in that area.
I've known Eric for years.
So there's a couple of funny stories here. Billy Sheehan could not have been a cooler guy. And we went up and jammed, I forget, it probably was like LaGrange or something. So we played that tune. And they had a drummer come up, and it was cool, man. We did the thing. And afterward, Alan's like, "Hey, we're all going out to dinner. We want you and your wife and son to go." So here's where the story gets funny. So they sat me at the far end of the table, away from the rock stars, near some other musicians, and it was really a nice conversation. My wife is sat next to Billy Sheehan, and the whole night they're hooting and hollering on the other side of the table. I mean, you dicks.
That's funny.
Like, come on, man. I want to be down there with Eric Martin and my wife's, she's, it was just too funny.
It's hilarious.
So I always joke, I always joke with my wife saying, "Hey, if Billy Sheehan's on a video or something, I'll say, remember that night you had dinner with Billy Sheehan and Mr. Big? And I was at the 10 feet away, you fuckers."
Right? Yeah.
But that was a good night, and Alan's always been cool, and I think I'm going to try to connect and see if we can maybe have dinner or something up there. But you're welcome to join us. Dude, I'm looking forward to meeting your fiance.
Yeah, for sure.
And just hang out next weekend in the Bay Area. I mean, that's one of my most favorite places on earth. I'm not a big fan of the city anymore, but I love the Bay Area. I love that general area, Marin County.
Yeah, all that.
We're actually going to go to see on Saturday night after the shooting. The filming, we're going to see Billy Idol in Napa.
That's going to be great, man.
So that'd be pretty cool too.
I was watching some videos of him a couple of weeks ago, and he puts on such a great show. Him and Steve Stevens.
Oh fuck! Can I pull this off? Let me see if I can pull this shit off. Yeah, and we have my friend who is also my local guitar tech, Frank Falbo, has been teching for Steve Stevens, has been gone for a month. So that'll be the very last night of the tour. And I think Frank may hang out with me and we'll drive back the next day. So that should be fun.
Yeah, so that's the last show of the tour, huh?
That's the last show of at least this leg of the tour.
Wow.
So with everything closing down again with that report that came out about concerts, elevating the variant, whatever, dude. Things are probably going to shut down again. The good news is it kind of gives me some time to take a deep breath and not have to worry about putting my record out just right away, because I want to take my time and finish it. But I want to get out and play some damn shows too.
Yeah, we got 2 shows at the Whiskey booked for, I think I said last time, I think it was November 17th and May 5th, I think it is.
Nice.
With Last in Line on November 17th, Vivian Campbell.
Nice,
and
man.
then Rose Red on May 5th. And I guess they're a big cult band because like 3 shows are sold out back to back.
Great.
Yeah, so that should be cool.
You guys direct opening for those bands?
Not sure of the lineup yet. I'm not sure.
I guess that always depends on ticket sales. Whoever's got the best ticket sales, you get to pick your spot.
Well, we haven't been asked to sell any tickets, which is
right.
which I'm fine with, because I hate that shit. But we can thank LA for all the pay to play, by the way, because if it wasn't for them in all those venues out there, they started that.
Well, listen, I'm not going to take any ownership in any LA anything. I do love the people here, and I do love I got to play a lot of those clubs throughout the years, and I will say that the Whiskey, we never, I played maybe 5 times there. I never had to sell tickets, but I know there's a lot of bands that will have to do that, and then they'll sell their tickets and go on at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody even on, it's like you're just basically
you're a rehearsal.
Getting groceries at 6 p.m.
It's a live rehearsal.
Like nothing going on.
It's a live rehearsal is what it is.
Right.
I mean, but I love LA. I will not, I absolutely love LA. I love the music scene, the movie scene. For me, I've always wanted to be involved in the movie industry in some capacity. I just love. I write movie scripts just for fun. I love it.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough not to have to pay to play with the bands I've played with, so that's kind of cool. But I'm looking to get back out again, and at least I'm trying to get some local guys here in Ventura County, so I don't have to have 2 rehearsals and then we go play shows.
Yeah,
you know how that goes, man.
Yeah.
You're flying in and you're just last minute trying to pull it together. But Bill, I want to thank you for your time today, and everyone, thanks for tuning in.
We're already over an hour, or at an hour.
We're at an hour, man. Yeah.
Wow, that flew by.
And then when I get into editing,
Yeah.
It might be shorter than that. But I just want to get this episode out. I don't think we'll have another one for a couple weeks until I get back from Northern California. But in the meantime, follow me at gregmara.com. You can follow me on all my socials at Mara Music. Just look up my name, Greg Mara. You'll find me on Facebook and Instagram. I think I'm at Mara Music on both Facebook and Instagram. So, Bill, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Instagram at guitarist Bill Lanero. You can find me also Lanero Music on YouTube, Instagram, and then my website is billanero.com.
That's 3 L's,
that
folks.
Is
don't
3
fuck
L's.
that one
Yeah,
up.
don't screw that one up. Yeah, 3 L's in a row. That's right.
Hey, Bill, congratulations on your new engagement, and have a fantastic time in Mexico.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next
on the
weekend.
22nd.
Dude. And thanks so much. All right,
All
homie.
right, man.